Yeah.
Walk us through, this is personal, but how you're down,
So look,
don't want to look at the mountain, fallen. How do you do, what should you do each day? What did you do each day?
I sort of teach this to students.
This is very Ben Franklin, you know.
Yeah, so basically, when you're going through a very high pressure situation, so the fund was down 30-something%. The press, loves you on the way up and loves you even more to write about you on the way down. So there was a lot of very negative press. There was some litigation in connection with that Valiant investment, and I was in the middle of a divorce. So it was bad. It's about as bad as it gets, but I didn't have a health issue. So one, it's important to keep perspective. But the way you manage through that kind of stressful situation, all of us are going to have a moment like this. Unfortunately, it's going to be, a health issue. It's going to be you're fired from your job, your startup fails. You will, and it's even harder when you've fallen from a high place to a low place. So my method was just, I'm going to make a little progress every day. Compounding is the solution to the vast majority of progress in the world, and personal compounding is even more powerful because you make 0.1% progress every day. It doesn't sound like a lot, but annualized, it's a huge amount. And so what I said to myself going through this period is, each day I'm going to make progress. I'm not going to look back to where I was, because if I look there, I'm going to get discouraged. I'm just going to focus on the next step, and then the next step, and the next step. And you don't notice any meaningful change for the first few weeks. But about 90 days in, you're like, okay, I'm here. Here's where I was. Now, I used to be up there, but I'm just going to keep compounding. And the curves of compounding, which I'm sure you know well, start like this. They don't look like much. And then they look like COVID, and they sort of eventually kind of take off. And the other key success factor going through a challenging period of time is just to be really healthy. So, I decided a while ago to go zero sugar. I highly recommend zero sugar. It's good for everything from mental acuity to the way you look, to physical, just everything about it is a positive. Exercise, nutrition, sleep, kind of the basics, and then surrounding yourself with people you love and love you. And if you do that, I think you can work yourself through almost any problem. And I met my wife, now wife, at the absolute bottom, almost to the day. I had my first date with her, and I think love saves us all. It's very true.
This gets to, I know we're running out of time, but describe your Brad Pitt moment with your
sounds like you've done some due diligence. So I described, like, my deepest, darkest moment was, the fund's down 35%, investors are redeeming, we've got a court case that's going poorly, I'm joined and severally personally liable with Valiant Pharmaceuticals, a company going bankrupt, on the shareholder litigation. And there's not a lot of good going on, but then I meet this woman, Neri Oxman, and she's just gorgeous and brilliant and like the most loving, warm person in the world, and it's like she's my savior, and things start. And also working through the divorce and all this mess, and I finally get through, I'm starting to make some progress, and I completely fall in love with her, but she's at MIT, and I'm in New York, a little long-distance relationship. And then one day she calls me, and she says, "Oh, Bill, guess who's coming to visit me at my lab?" I'm like, "I don't know. Who's coming?" "Brad Pitt." I'm like, "That's great, sweetheart." I didn't know Brad Pitt was interested in architecture. No, he's really interested in architecture and design. I was like, "That's fantastic." We would text, WhatsApp, like, all the time. Brad showed up at the lab at 10 a.m. And then I kind of WhatsApped her probably at around 11, no response. Sent her another note around 12, no response. 2, no response. And it was probably, for the period of time from the beginning of our relationship to that moment, it was the biggest gap in unresponded, not just the texts were unresponded to. You know how the checks go blue when she reads it? They didn't even go blue. Okay. And so now it's 9 o'clock, nothing. 10 o'clock, she calls me back. And of course, they had a great day at the lab, and then went out for dinner. And so, again, this is like a pretty dark period for me. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to lose the litigation. The fund is going to get liquidated. A judge is going to find me guilty of some kind of crime, and Brad Pitt's going to steal my girlfriend. So, it's like this. That was the bottom, okay? Oh, and yes, and Elliott Associates had built a stake in my public vehicle, which we didn't yet control because I hadn't yet borrowed that money from JP Morgan, and another activist was going to put me out of business. It was like, if you make the list of horribles of a terrible way to go out, I mean, Forbes would have had an incredible field day with the story. But the whole thing was very motivational, and maybe that's why Jamie lent me the money. He just didn't want to see me go down like that.